Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel, joined at the anchor desk by my partner, Clark Kellogg. Next up on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll reveal the best of the little guys in our mid-major top 10 list, as well as tell you where the top recruit in the nation is headed. But first, let's take a look at the best games of the past week in college basketball. We had a pair of top 25 teams in an old-fashioned grudge match. West Virginia did away with Vanderbilt.
It was a real treat to see these teams both come to play in what turned out to be a fantastic game. They showed us why they deserved their spots in the top 25. This was an entertaining and fun game to watch. Monroe was the hero of this one with a terrific performance. His 15 points led the team. Watching him basically put his teammates on his back and single-handedly carry them to the victory in a big game situation like this was stupendous.
Although this next contest seemed predictable enough, one of the best teams in the country suffered a severe shock to the system. Baylor beat South Carolina.
This came right out of the blue, Greg. What a wild and crazy game. South Carolina was sitting pretty as a top 5 team, but you've got to have some doubts about them after a loss like this. Baylor played some absolutely stifling defense. They made the guys on the other side work for every basket, and you can see that reflected in the shooting percentage. They never let up on the defensive end. That really took the pressure off the offense and allowed them to dictate the tempo of the game. To me, that was the biggest factor.
Now let's unveil our list of the top 10 mid-major teams in college hoops. These teams could probably hold their own in any of the power conferences if they had the chance.
I just love talking about the non-power conference team. This is the kind of stuff that gets me fired up for March. A couple of these teams have the potential to be very dangerous in the tournament. No one more so than the team at the top of the list.
Portland is setting themselves apart from the other mid-majors in more ways than one, but what really impresses me is their imposing strength of schedule. They've adopted the anyone, anywhere scheduling philosophy, and it's transformed them into a very dangerous opponent. There's just as much action in the living room as there is in the locker room at this time of year as college coaches make their pitch to high school stars around the nation in the hope of finding a special player that'll push their program to the next level. The Rutgers Scarlet Knights have to be considered the big winners in the recruiting wars this week. They brought in a young man whose talent is undeniable.
Guasco is the type of player that coaches dream about. Everyone on that campus was buzzing about this signing. When you think of this program, some of the great forwards in the college game immediately come to mind. I'm sure it's going to serve as tremendous motivation for him to try to join that elite group and perhaps have his number retired right next to all the other elite forwards.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel here with my partner, Clark Kellogg. Just ahead on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll preview some of the biggest games coming up this week in the NCAA, as well as show you the best action from around the nation. But we begin with a special player who was an easy choice as our Player of the Week in college basketball.
Craven is a favorite to win this award every week, Greg, and he gets it this week. If there is anyone who doesn't consider him one of the best players in the country, just take a look at his last few performances.
He was playing like a house on fire this week, Clark. The performance he gave leads me to believe there might be a few more Player of the Week awards for him in the very near future. He looked like he was enjoying the pressure of carrying his team, so the increased expectations should be no problem for him to handle. Now let's take a look ahead to the games that get top billing on the schedule in the days to come. I'm looking forward to this game just like everybody else. This matchup has the possibility of becoming quite a little rivalry because these teams match up so well against each other, and it's always a heated atmosphere when they're on the court together.
Duke should come out on top if I had to make a prediction. Their backcourt is so solid this year, and their guards love to get out and run. That gives them a huge advantage in a game that should be as fast-paced as this one will be.
But that's not the only item on the schedule that has NCAA fans buzzing. This should be a terrific matchup. Both these teams are fighting to improve their position among the nation's elite teams, and they're going to have to go through each other to do it.
Virginia plays a brand of defense that should make the difference in this game. They are a tough team to score against. And if you don't squeeze the orange, they'll take it. I think they'll be in top form for this contest.
There was no shortage of excitement on the court in the past few days, so let's take a look at our games of the week. We had a pair of top 10 teams duking it out, Clark, in our first featured game. Cal did away with Arizona.
You don't need to say much more than that. With a pair of top 10 teams of their caliber on the floor, there was no doubt this was going to be a monumental matchup.
Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel, joined at the anchor desk by my partner, Clark Kellogg. Next up on College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. We'll preview some of the biggest games coming up this week in the NCAA, as well as show you the best action from around the nation. But we begin with a special player who was an easy choice as our Player of the Week in college basketball.
Moliva is a favorite to win this award every week, Greg, and he gets it this week. If there is anyone who doesn't consider him one of the best players in the country, just take a look at his last few performances.
No doubt about that. He was absolutely on fire with a total of 79 points. He simply could not be stopped. His touch around the basket was so silky, it had to make you think of some of the college game's great all-time scorers. I think we're going to see a few records in this young man's hand by the time all is said and done, if this week is any indication. Now let's take a look ahead to the games that get top billing on the schedule in the days to come. I'm looking forward to this game just like everybody else. This matchup has the possibility of becoming quite a little rivalry because these teams match up so well against each other, and it's always a heated atmosphere when they're on the court together.
Duke plays a brand of defense that should make the difference in this game. They are a tough team to score against. And if you don't squeeze the orange, they'll take it. I think they'll be in top form for this contest.
But that's not the only item on the schedule that has NCAA fans buzzing. This game matches a pair of top 10 teams and is sure to bring both teams' fans out of the woodwork, not to mention a fair share of the national media.
Clemson would be my pick here. They are so strong on the inside that I believe they'll be just too tough to match up with. It would really surprise me if the talent discrepancy on the inside doesn't tell the tale of this game.
Now, let's turn our attention to some of the action of the past week in the NCAA with our games of the week. We get started with an important conference battle in the ACC. Florida State got by NC State.
The Florida State Seminoles made the most of their opportunity to move up, and that's going to serve them very well as we get closer to conference tournament time, even if it's just in seeding position. West was not going to be denied. With 24 points led all scorers. Watching him basically put his teammates on his back and single-handedly carry them to the victory in a big game situation like this was stupendous.
And two teams, each enjoying a spot in the top 25, got together. Virginia outdid Wake Forest.
It was a real treat to see these teams both come to play in what turned out to be a fantastic game. They showed us why they deserve their spots in the top 25. This was an entertaining and fun game to watch. Virginia really muscled up down low and was able to convert a lot of easy chances close to the basket. Whether it was the big men or the guards, they made the most of their opportunity. They established their inside presence from the start and were able to rely on getting their points down low throughout the game.
That'll do it for us here in the studio. For my partner, Clark Kellogg, I'm Greg Gumbel. Thanks for watching College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. Enjoy the exciting week of college hoops action. It is an annual rite of spring, bringing with it excitement and emotion that can be found in no other sporting event. The NCAA tournament. Your wait is finally over. The brackets are ready, and we're all set. But before we unveil the brackets for this season, now let's take a look at the NCAA tournament bubble and see which teams are sitting at home with their fingers crossed, hoping to see their name. The Clemson Tide on to the second, the Indiana, and finally out. Now here's how. First up, the Clemson Tide, and now the number 8 seed, the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs, come into the tournament first in their conference during the regular season. Mississippi Duke comes in as the number 5. Next up is our West. Look, next, the Alabama. Penn State comes in as the number 8 seed, finishing at 21 and 11. Illinois Chicago comes in to face them at number 9 with 20 wins and the regular season championship of the Horizon League. Arizona State comes in as the number 4 seed, finishing at 19 and 11. And they'll take on the 13th seed from Conference USA, the Texas El Paso Miners, with 17 wins. UCLA enters the field as the number 5 seed from the Pac-10. It's yet our number. Next up is the Air. And now the number 6 seed, the Wisconsin Badgers, come into the tournament 5th in their conference during the regular season and finish 2nd in their conference tournament. They are going to play the number 11 seed, the Ohio State Buckeyes, who came in 1st in their conference tournament, finishing at 20 and 15. On the surface, I'd have to say this regional might be the most difficult of the 4. Certainly the depth of quality teams here is very impressive. Whoever emerges from this bracket will have been through some battles. On to our 3rd bracket of the day. Let's take a look at the Minneapolis Regional. The Indiana Hoosiers are the top seed, finishing at 28 and 6. They were winners of the regular season championship in the Big Ten. They'll take on the Idaho Vandals, the number 16 ranked team. This will be their 8th appearance all time in the NCAA tournament. Our number 8 seed is from the A-10 Conference. The Dayton Flyers were rewarded for their outstanding play this season with an at-large bid and a ticket to the big dance. They're going to play the number 9 seed, the Missouri Tigers, who were 2nd in their conference, finishing at 20 and 12. Marquette enters the field as the number 4 seed from the Big East. It's yet another appearance in the brackets for a school that's no stranger to the NCAA tournament. They'll be getting ready to face the number 13 seed, the Yale Bulldogs. Finished the season with 16 wins.
The Marquette Golden Eagles are going to provide serious matchup problems to any team that doesn't have depth and defensive ability at both guard spots. They have outstanding backcourt play at both ends of the court. It's the main reason they've made it this far, and they're going to have to maintain that form if they want to.
The Arizona Wildcats are in as the number 5 seed. They'll be taking on the number 12 seed, the San Diego State Aztecs, with 19 wins. Cal comes in as the number 2 seed, finishing at 23 and 9. Norfolk State comes in to face them at number 15 with 15 wins in the tournament championship of the MEAC. Next up is the number 7 seed. The Nebraska Cornhuskers are the conference tournament champions from the Big 12. They'll be going up against the number 10 seed, the Syracuse Orange, with 18 wins. They return once more to the very familiar surroundings of the NCAA tournament. And now the number 3 seed, the Virginia Cavaliers, come into the tournament as the 4th place team in their conference during the regular season and were losers in their first game at their conference tournament. They are going to play the number 14 seed, the Chattanooga Mocs, who came in 1st in their conference tournament, finishing at 19 and 12. Wake Forest comes in as the number 6 seed, finishing at 20 and 11. And they take on the 11th seed from the Sun Belt Conference, the Denver Pioneers, with 22 wins. Some of the lower seeds in this bracket have the ability to not only compete with the high seeds, but win a few games. The potential for a Cinderella or two in this bracket is definitely there. And finally, the Florida State Seminoles are the top seed, finishing at 20 and 7. They were winners of the regular season championship in the ACC. They'll take on the Weber State Wildcats, the number 16 ranked team. This marks their 16th appearance in the NCAA tournament in team history. Next up is the number 8 seed. The Cincinnati Bearcats have established themselves as one of the best teams from the Big East. They'll be going up against the number 9 seed, the Wisconsin Milwaukee Panthers, with 20 wins. This is their 9th appearance ever in the NCAA tournament. Gonzaga comes in as the number 4 seed, finishing at 26 and 6. Monmouth comes in to face them at number 13 with 20 wins in the tournament championship of the Northeast Conference. Richmond comes in as the number 5 seed, finishing at 21 and 10. and they will take on the 12th seed from the Missouri Valley Conference, the Missouri State Bears, with 21 wins. Texas enters the field as the number 2 seed from the Big 12. It's yet another appearance in the brackets for a school that's no stranger to the... And now, the Rhode Island Rams are in as the number 3 seed. They'll be taking on the number 14 seed, the Akron Zips, with 16 wins. Our number 6 seed is from the SEC. The South Carolina Gamecocks were rewarded for their outstanding play this season with an at-large bid and a ticket to the big dance. They are going to play the number 11 seed, the Detroit Titans, who came in first in their conference tournament, finishing at 18 and 11. There are going to be some incredible matchups in the later rounds of this bracket. If the top seeds can avoid the early upsets, we can look forward to some real heavyweight battles. What are your thoughts on our top 16 seeds, Clark?
Maybe I haven't agreed with the selection committee every year, but I think they did a great job this time. The top 16 looked just about right to me. North Carolina State is a little bit of a paper lion, in my opinion, Greg. They are not a team that I think can do any serious damage in this competition. I just don't see it happening.
Now, let's bring the conference picture into focus. The Big East gets 8 teams, the ACC with 6, 4 out of the SEC. The Pac-10 gets 4 teams.
It was really an up year for the teams in the Horizon League. They topped the non-power conferences with the number of bids they got, and it shows you how far this conference has come. They're becoming dominant at that level.
It's too bad we didn't see more small conference schools in the tournament. None of those conferences got more than 1 team in the tourney, and I don't expect any David and Goliath stories out of the teams. Here's the list of the teams that were on the bubble heading into Selection Sunday. So, partner, which of those invitees should be sending the selection committee a thank you card?
Texas Tech did themselves a big favor with their hot finish. They were really on a roll, and the committee would much rather hand out bids to teams that are playing well now, not the ones that were hot in December.
While they start prepping for their first-round games, the 5 teams on the other side of the page will be full-time students again.
Kentucky probably thinks their resume is as good as a few of the teams.
All right, Clark,